Joining us on the line right now is Susham Modi. Susham is a Houston-based immigration attorney, founder of the Modi law firm. I'm made to understand he goes by Modi. We'll say Modi, welcome to the show. Thanks for making time today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Listen, so I got kind of fussed at by some listeners yesterday, some comments I made about immigration and the impact on the workforce here. They said, you got to get an immigration attorney. So I got one. From your legal perspective, how have Trump's immigration policies, specifically mass deportation, changed the makeup of the U.S. workforce?
Yeah, I mean, that's a broad question. We've seen a lot of changes in the last 6 months. Specifically for work authorization. I mean, one quick point here is about 1 million individuals that had proper work authorization no longer have it, and based on two programs that the Trump administration eliminated. One is called TPS, Temporary Protected Status, about 600,000 Venezuelan and Haitians that had that, like they applied for it, have proper work authorization, they no longer have it. And then about 400,000 parolees, that's like another discretionary way to stay in the US, based on like Cuba, Haiti, Venezuela, they no longer have it. So if you combine just those two programs alone, we've lost about 1 million individuals with legal work authorization that had legal work authorization. And that's not including the fear that we're seeing with undocumented workers fulfilling certain needs in the workforce, like construction or other places, because they're afraid to go to work. So you see it. You've seen a lot of articles about farmers, about farms and construction workers and healthcare sector. So those areas, I personally have seen a lot of clients afraid to go to even the grocery store. So, and they have proper like pending applications. And so if we combine that, there's a lot of fear of going to work. And I think you're going to see that fear impact the economy and the workforce eventually.
Funny thing, that's exactly what I said yesterday. And people told me in their experience, they're not seeing that, and that I was wrong, and that it couldn't possibly be true that people are afraid to not only show up to work, but to go to a hospital or to go to interface with the legal system in some way to make sure that their paperwork is current and they're staying in touch with immigration authorities. You're saying that is happening at scale.
The latter part, not so much. Like applying for the paperwork, we've actually seen certain increases. So for example, people who are permanent residents, like permanently here, like legal permanent residents, they know they don't have as much protection as being a US citizen, right? And you saw it with that case of the individual who did peaceful protests against Gaza, but then was put in deportation proceedings based on it. So like even, green card holders, what a lot of people don't realize is minor criminal history could put you in deportation proceedings, or even no criminal history like this peaceful protest. So we've seen actually a huge increase in applications in our firm for like naturalization or trying to find a really good lawyer to fight their court case and things like that. Whereas other aspects of it, like not the legal case, but like maybe going to the grocery store or going to work, where you see the raids at like Home Depots and churches and schools, I think you're seeing a lot more fear there.
Modi, what are you hearing from employers in, for example, farming and construction, the sort of what we think is the sort of bellwether industries that have a greater than average share of immigrant workers? What are you hearing from them? Is production slowing down, or construction projects being delayed because they cannot find workers to do these jobs?
Yeah, I think it is. And actually, I'll put a shout out here to my father. My father's been in the construction industry for over 40 years. And I actually spoke to him earlier today about what he's seeing on the ground there. He's a senior estimator, was a project manager before, and he's seeing subcontractors. So he works for a general contractor that hires subcontractors, and he does the bidding on different projects. And he's seeing subcontractors go bankrupt. So think of subcontractors as like the painters, electricians, that sort of stuff. So if they can't get the labor, either they're raising the prices. He said he's seen, because he does all the math for the estimating, he's seen prices raised by about over 25% on different projects, which is huge. That's going to impact, I think, the economy eventually. And then that's one part of it. And then that cost gets eaten up in different ways. Like the general contractor takes a loss. There's multiple people that take losses for that. But then the subcontractors themselves are going bankrupt. So he mentioned a recent case where they can't find painters like to do the painting for the actual job. So I think you are going to see a major impact on construction industries, and that's not including material costs going up. So you saw with these tariffs, there have been delayed material costs like timber, steel, different material costs in addition to labor costs.
So that's how we get to this place where, I'm up late last night and, studying about this, and I see some kind of surprising reports that there's a broad consensus among economists that there are millions of jobs that are at risk here, even for U.S. born workers. Not people who are in some sort of temporary protected status, or they're from Cuba and they're on this parole program. People who were born in America, their
Yeah.
jobs are at risk because of all the reasons you just pointed out. These price increases and these other things that are making these projects no longer tenable or no longer profitable. So deporting immigrants can affect jobs for people who were born here.
Yeah, it's actually interrelated. So like for example, my father's a US citizen. I think his company has gone, they've either laid off or reduced their workforce, like legal workforce by about 50%. They made people part-time in this construction company that he works for. So, there you are seeing a major shift here, and that's not including the way it goes all the way down. So, for example, I mean, I think all of us Americans are feeling it everywhere we're buying anything, right? So, inflation has been persistent. We go to the grocery store, why is a bag of chips $5, right? I mean, if you're starting to include picking fruit and the farm workers and all that stuff, you're seeing increases there too. And we're all feeling, I mean, I know I am, when I go to the grocery store as well. And I think there's a delay between when something happens and when it trickles all the way down to the consumer. And you're going to start seeing the consumer reactions more and more. I actually spoke with a bankruptcy lawyer for a different matter, like referring each other cases, a couple of weeks ago, and he said he's starting to see more and more corporate bankruptcies as well.
Modi, we just have a little bit of time left here, and I want to kind of shift away from, spreadsheets and who's making money and what projects are getting canceled, and just talking more about the human toll for a moment. You've represented a
Yeah.
lot of workers who are facing deportation. What happens to those people's families in their communities when they're suddenly snatched off the street, disappeared into a, detention facility, difficult to get in touch with them? Maybe they get deported, maybe they don't. But what happens to their families and their communities in the meantime?
Yeah, I mean, this is what's difficult, right? Is because we're all just people at the end of the day. I mean, even if you want to look at it scientifically, we all come from the earth, so we're family, right? So it's hard to see family be separated and people put in jail and lose their ability to work and feed their family. So that's the human toll. And I know, part of the question was not including stats anymore. But even if we did include stats, like about 75% of the people being picked up, like at Home Depots and churches and schools, and the fear that's arising, these are just objective stats because nonprofits did a records request from the government. About 75% have no criminal convictions whatsoever. So it's not like we're using our limited law enforcement to go after the bad apples. We're going after the hardworking individuals. And so that's the real problem that we're seeing. And in cases the thing is the law doesn't fit really well like with everybody. And so what used to happen is there was called prosecutorial discretion. So like if you were married to a US citizen and you have a US citizen child, in fact, I had a consult earlier today about this, but if you're, married to a US citizen, you have a US citizen child, a kind of way that eventually maybe you could get a green card. We're seeing those cases be a lot more difficult now. Like somebody's in deportation proceedings and the government attorney and the judge are not agreeing to use their discretion to terminate that case so they can pursue the green card. And you're talking about like a 1-year-old child. That's not including the recent policy of trying to extend what you mentioned earlier, which is detention, like immigration jail. So that was another discretion, is people were released on parole more. And if they didn't show up to their court hearing, they'd be ordered deported. And especially if they have situations where they're married to a US citizen, they're going to try to show up to their court hearings for the most part because they have a pathway. Now they're not getting released and they're not getting the discretion to try to pursue their cases easily. So in multiple ways, between being apprehended, like with no criminal history at Home Depots and things, being put in detention, and then the lack of discretion in court, like you're seeing it get harder and harder for the people again that don't have criminal history, that have U.S. citizen family members. And that's not to lose hope. There could be a possibility for them to stay, but it's going to be a much more difficult case, more expensive, more legal arguments because of these recent policies.
Modi, we have to stop there, but this has been really illuminating for me and for the audience. Susham Modi is a Houston-based immigration attorney, founder of the Modi Law Firm. Thank you for your time, your work, and your way, man. We appreciate you so much. We'll keep you in the Rolodex.
Thank you so much. Have a good day. Thanks for inviting me.